Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, everybody, and great to see you on this beautiful fall day. At least it is here in Ames, Iowa, where I now live. My husband and I now live. And so, Jackie, right now, when this airs, with this streams, we will be in North Dakota. Will have come from Washington, and I'll have come from Iowa for our third North Dakota book tour. And we have a jammed packed 10 days of presentations, book autographing. What else? There's something else.
Presentations to schools,
yes,
elementary, junior high, and college.
Yes, and communities. The Sterling community, Sterling, North Dakota community is having us in. We're so looking forward to meeting, becoming re-involved again with friends of our past who lived in Sterling. The heck, that was only about 10 miles from where we lived.
And as far as communities, we were going to be communing with Watford City and Williston and Stanley and Bismarck area. Bismarck area.
Yes. Fun times. And so we look forward to seeing you. And we'd love to sign a book for you. We'd love to talk about the 1950s with you and learn about your stories too. But today we have another great story to listen to. And Jackie, take it away.
Okay. Well, before we introduce our guest, as always, look in the bottom there. You see that beautiful purple stripe, and it says www.whilethewindmillwatch.com. And that is where you are to go if you want to find out more about the book, about the authors, about the events where we will be present, and about this wonderful 1950s Fun Chat. Also, look in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see our book, which features a North Dakota sunset, wraps around it totally, and of course a windmill and two silhouettes, and a silhouette of two little girls. Then that little white dot represents an award that the book received in 2022. It is the National Independent Press Award in the regional nonfiction category, and it was given the distinguished favorite title. So we're really grateful for that. Now then, we are going to introduce you to Greg. Now, Greg was our guest twice previously, and those recordings can be found on www.whilethewindmillwatch under the Fun Chats 9 and 67. And as with the previous ones, our topic is music. Now, Greg Nelson was born and raised in Bismarck, North Dakota. He attended the public schools, Bismarck Junior College, and then spent 1 year at the University of North Dakota, followed by traveling throughout the United States for 1 year with a Christian folk group. He then returned to Bismarck and married his high school sweetheart, Pam Wetch, graduated from Mary College, and taught in elementary schools and Bismarck High for 7 years. He conducted the fledgling city orchestra and led a performing singing group. He then served full-time as a church youth director for 2 years. He formed a record label, moved to Los Angeles for 2 years, and eventually settled in Nashville, Tennessee to become a producer, songwriter, and publisher. So again, we welcome Greg back to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Yes. Hi, Greg.
Hi. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So basically, this chat will focus on the wide topic of the music recording industry and the changes, and maybe challenges too, during the decade of the 1950s to the present. So we're going to start off with, what is the difference between a sound booth of the 1950s versus when you were involved?
Not much different, just the technology and the recording machines and everything involved around it just had a metamorphosis and developed. Like when I first started out, I we had at our studio in Bismarck, we did a recording, recorded John Denver. He was just passing through. This wasn't our normal fare, but he had one other song he had to do, and he was doing a concert in Bismarck. And I got to talk to his engineer, Mickey Crawford, who was one RCA, an RCA recording engineer, and he started out one track, uh, and with not stereo, and then
Ah,
into stereo. We got into it, and uh, we were doing uh, 4 track, and then 8 track, and then 16 track, and then eventually 32 track digitally. The first prototype of that machine was at 3M, sort of genius there. And so there was this evolution, excuse me, this evolution from analog recording to digital recording,
Okay.
zeros and ones, and then that has been slowly perfected. So the studio itself, I mean, of course, there was updates, and they got looking better, and but a lot of those early studios had rugged, and they were very deadened, and then you started getting in the 80s into live rooms where there were wood floors, and uh, uh, there was the evolution of what was going on uh, in audio and in studio design. So there was a lot of I mean, there's a lot of change, and it and now, uh, well, that's just about the studio itself. So, does that
mhm.
kind of answer
Thank you.
kind of?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you back up, please, and explain what is a track?
Oh, like a recording track, uh, like when you listen to a stereo recording, there's a left and a right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, but if you have 8 tracks or 16 tracks, there is a pan pot, which can pan to the right or pan to the left. And then uh, you now have 16 sources of sound that are mixed and panned however the engineer wants to pan it. But the track is the audio recording.
So the engineer becomes the creative expert in how to mix that sound for what the producer wants or for what
Yeah,
the engineer wants.
right. Yeah, for what the producer wants, but there are different engineers. I may use an engineer because he's really good uh, doing strings,
Okay.
and someone who can get the job done quickly, because when you have an orchestra, you uh, things have got to get done quickly. Someone who's thorough and has checked the lines and everything. There are people who do different aspects. If I'm doing vocals with someone, uh, generally I use the same person all the time, even into mix. But if you're in multiple studios, like I was very often, uh, sometimes the engineer was tired or something, and you use somebody else uh, for some other application, like uh, here's an example. You have your engineer who helps you through the day. The days are usually from 10 to 10 to 9, 10 in the morning is 10 to 1, 2 to 5, 6 to 9. That was a day, and you really had to do. I really had to do that because you could get a better rate if you rented the studio for a day. do a day rate rather than a couple hours. That was more expensive. And so I wanted to be a good steward for the record company. It wasn't my money, it was their money I was spending.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to be very careful about that. But the days were very long there. So at the end of the day, I may have the second engineer who's helping the engineer. He's it's too complicated, but he's helping the engineer take care of things like checking all the lines, making sure that the piano is tuned, because I usually had a tuner come in after every 3 hours, and make sure that nothing had changed. And sometimes it was for a day. It depended on the piano, whatever it was. But you have to do that, and you have to be careful, because there's, when you have 80-piece orchestra sitting in the room, there's no time to tell jokes or anything like that, because money is flying.
Yeah.
And you can lose literally $1,000 or so because of the music copyists didn't get it right. So that's another thing that you have to be very sure you know the guy who's working and know how thorough they are. You can't use just anyone to do that. And so there's this level of expertise in every area that you're with which you're dealing. And I don't know if I'm telling you what.
Well, you're telling us something new, which we don't know. That's what we like.
Well, and I'm thinking, Greg, are you back in the 50s for recording an orchestra was used then? And is it still a live orchestra used, or is there digital music that you use for background?
Well, yes, there are different ways of recording. There are different techniques. Like because there were no really big orchestral rooms in Nashville, and there still aren't, that can really facilitate a big orchestra. We went to England all the time, or you could go to Prague or Ireland. You could go, but mostly in England. And you'd get into the room. You'd run down a song, and as you were running it down, we would mix how we wanted to hear it then, and make adjustments with the players. And there were three. It was a 3 microphones there, and that were basically picking up everything. That was where the basic sound was coming, because you were getting the sound of the whole room, and the bigness of that. And there were close mics on the orchestra as well, but we tended not to use those unless we absolutely had to. If there was something we had to bring out that because it's flying by quickly.
Okay. When you went to these other countries to record, did the orchestra members from the United States travel with you, or did you use?
No. I use the fixers they're called contractors in the U.S., and they're fixers like in England, they call them fixers, and they hired. But I knew these guys because I'd gone there so many times. I knew exactly who to get, and they knew they knew that I would be willing to wait to get the right people, rather than just take whatever was available on the days we were coming in. And there's all that sorting out, but I never sorted that out. My production assistant, Holly Craig Smith, just unbelievable. She handled the hiring of the bringing in of all my equipment, because we're moving from studio to studio, and so I would have duplicate gear. So if I was in two studios, I could be set up for the next one, so I wasn't waiting for Cardi to come and bring it. She did visas, she did all the payment, all the recording, and sending it to the record company with all the information. So I never did that, and which allowed me to do what I do.
Yes.
And so it was so anyway, that's kind of a little look into it.
The
So are we?
specificity of talent is so important in your line of work.
In every line of work.
Yes, that's true.
So, Greg, are we to understand that there is no large recording studio in the United States that would accommodate an orchestra?
Oh yeah, there is in Los Angeles. There is in New York.
And so, why then go across the pond?
Because it was cheaper.
Oh, was it?
I didn't. It was cheaper to go across the pond, but I always tried to be as faithful and loyal to the players in Nashville, because they were these were fabulous players, and still are. There was no, in performance wise, there was no difference. The problem was the room. It wasn't the musicians. So and they were very, see, in those days, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, up into the 2000s, I mean, that music community was as tight as it could be, and people cared about people, and we were colleagues. Whether we were in the studio together or not, we were colleagues, and so that was a very good thing. But that sort of has evaporated now a little. Not in every case, but because of streaming and all that has developed from there. Now people are recording. If you want drums recorded, a guy set up in his house, and you send your tape to him, you send your tape to the guitarist, or you may do a small little thing and then do overdubbing with just sending it off. That's not in every case. I mean, but there's a lot of that. The medium-sized studios have had a hard time of it, because people have their own studio to do a lot of the things that were done there.
So you said tape. Do you mean a recording on a thumb drive, maybe? Or what do you mean by tape?
No, on a digital machine, recording digitally onto a multi-track digital machine. But now there's not that. Yeah, it's a hard drive, like Pro Tools, and you can mix on Pro Tools. As opposed to being in a studio where there's a big console, that's been replaced. Although there are people who are using it, and the last of the technology that, like when Michael Jackson, Bruce Swedien, when they were recording him, they would record the kick drum, the bass on like 16-track heads, which I'm getting too complicated. I'm not going to say it anymore. It's no.
Okay.
Sorry.
A question going back to the 50s, 60s time. I'm thinking of the time Elvis was recorded. I'm talking about the time Patti Page was recorded, or the time when those artists of the 50s. Okay, so they went into Connie Francis. They went into this sound booth and stood in front of a microphone or recorded.
And sang to a track.
Oh, okay.
Sang to an unmixed track, but it was mixed for them. In some cases, they did it live. They just sang live.
All right.
And so there's no one way of doing it. There have been multiple ways things are recorded. I did a full orchestra thing on I think it was it was Sandy Patty. We did this huge orchestra, but we'd put in this drum track. It was just a drum track, so the orchestra could play to it, and in just a rough mix of the rhythm section, which would be drums, guitar, bass, and so I had that. Everything was real instruments except for the drums, and so I had the click track. And I went. We were in Nashville, but I went to Los Angeles, and I used who was it? He great Robinson, John Robinson, who's just a great drummer. And I just ran the click, and he put the drums down after the fact. And a lot of different ways, because like I did a project in called the Millennium Chorus, which we used this group that was sort of like Lady Smith. What is it? I can't think of the name, but it's who Paul Simon used for his background singers. But it was a different group, but it was like that. And I wanted that for one of the songs. And so we went to a studio where we could watch. We sent them the track, and they sang there, and I produced it. It was in South Africa, and I recorded them from the studio in Nashville. So there's all different ways that things are recorded.
Do you ever wish that as a record producer you could go into those old recordings from years past and do you say, I could really make that sound so much better?
Well, in fact, I couldn't a lot of times, because it's about the performance. It's about that moment. It's about and the people who recorded those things, there were very good recordings, like the Frank Sinatra would walk in and sing with a group live. It was live, and he sang, and that was it. And but the recording aspect, there's certain things you can't go back and get. You say, "Oh, I could make that sound better." Yeah, not really, because it is what it is. And I know that's bad grammar, but it just is what it is.
Okay, but you had in a few moments back, you had mentioned something about that in the 50s, the studios were pretty much all dead in sound.
Yeah, okay. More dead.
And is that good?
Well, it depends on. It's all subjective, because it depends on what sound you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's that is more vibrant, you can listen to a lot of recordings, and when I listen to a recording, I can kind of tell what room, what size room they're in, and what microphones they're using.
Sure.
What preamps and.
Have you recorded anyone singing in the shower?
No.
Well, there you go.
Never got that.
Because that's a different sound also.
Yeah, it is. It's always better.
Yeah.
Greg, what you've produced so many songs. Do you have a favorite?
No, I don't.
Mhm.
I don't have any favorites. I just uh, I don't even remember. Uh, Once an album was over, uh,
It was
however, my
over.
wife said, I said, we finally got the final mix. She said, no, you didn't, because we'd always go back and but
Play with it.
then I just moved on to the next thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Nothing was really near and dear to
Yeah.
uh, my heart. You were too busy.
Oh.
Mm.
You know that is. I didn't get a lot of time to smell the roses,
Uh-huh.
uh, and that's the only regret of all that. Although I never missed any of my kids' events or anything.
Mhm.
I would work the studio around whatever I was doing.
Good for you.
So at least uh, I was, and it really paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Indeed.
How do you find music to produce? Does the artist come to you? Does the agent come to you? How do you
All different ways. Uh, I Mostly the record company comes to you, or there's a manager who likes what you do, and so they press to have you do it, and then of course there's the artist too, and
Mhm.
excuse me, and uh, so but in choosing an artist, the one thing that uh, I I always did, not always, but pretty much always did. I would go and I would ask if I could have lunch or have a dinner with whoever they wanted me to meet.
Mhm.
And you can find out a lot about a person
mm-hmm,
when you're sitting around and having a meal,
mm-hmm,
and you find out who they like to talk about, and you find out if they want to be an artist or if they want to be famous. And so that was really important to me.
mm-hmm,
If they ended up talking about themselves the whole time and never asked me anything about me, that told me something. Now
mm-hmm,
that wasn't always a criteria all the time, but that would give me pause.
mm-hmm,
And so because you know what, you're spending 3 months of your time with these people, uh, uh, if not more than that, over a period of time. And you want to make sure that you're doing something that working with someone who has their own vision for what they're doing.
Mhm.
Someone would, a lot of times people come up and say, well, where are you taking this artist on this record? And I'm not taking them anywhere.
mm-hmm,
They're taking me. And my job is to be a servant to their vision, to what they want to be. And so if I thought that this artist probably didn't have a vision except wanting to be well known,
mm-hmm,
then I would pass.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
And that happened a few times, and it was okay.
Mhm.
Uh, so anyway,
What what is the cost of making a song from beginning to end and
uh,
taking it to the public?
any uh, that's really hard to describe because
Okay.
if you're on a, like a lot of people are on now, like 30. I never had to do that except when I first started, like a what would say 25, $30,000 budget.
Mm-hmm,
But basically, I got to a point, and fairly early on, which I was grateful for, where the record company didn't really say. They they gave me kind of a ballpark of where they wanted to be,
mm-hmm,
but my hands weren't. They never tied my hands.
Nice.
And uh, that was that is one of the things I'm very grateful for, because I didn't have to worry, but I was very conscious of making sure that I didn't think that I was spending my money, that I was spending somebody else's money, and would I do this if this was my money?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not why. Oh, that's so wonderful, Greg, and but that was really important to me.
That has to go with along with your integrity, I feel.
That, you know what, that that's exactly right. It's it the what you do for someone uh, in private isn't so much about what you've done, but it says a lot about who you are.
Hmm. Hmm. So, are there certain genres that you did not record, or
Yeah,
that only?
I wasn't a pop guy. I was really this orchestral, inspirational guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I did some like the Phantom of the Opera, Michael Crawford. I did records on a couple of things on. I did his Christmas album, or did six sides with him, with and the other guys were Michael Marty and David Foster, and we did that record. And then I, on this Millennium Chorus thing, I did a thing with him, and the Columbia Boys Choir. I worked with Jennifer Holliday from Dreamgirls. That girl, I worked with her, and a lot of other people, but
Mm-hmm.
but uh, uh, mostly contemporary. What I would call inspirational music, because
Okay.
that was really my focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. Greg, what so many TV programs now are growing musical artists. American Idol, The Voice, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
America's Got Talent. What's your feeling about that?
Like a lot of the
Yeah.
people, I think, in the music industry, it's it is this little bottleneck marketing thing that uh, these people are set up to be marketed,
Mm-hmm.
and those shows are marketing people, but the scope, it's not eclectic. It is, if it fits, it's like you've got a purple bag and a red bag and a, well, just red and purple bag. Well, they sell they sell what's going into the purple bag. That's what they do.
I.
And it's, and their whole marketing is set up for that. And that's what it is.
So, if
Uh,
there's an artist or a singer, or let's say a singer who comes on to one of these shows, and that is the kind of music they're looking for at that moment,
yeah,
then
then
get
that's
produced. Okay,
that's
but
fine. But
that's
it's very one dimensional to me.
uh-huh. Well, like Kelly Clarkson was the first one
Right.
to, yeah, and look, and she's gone beyond
Oh yeah,
whatever.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Because she fits that
Yeah,
purple bag.
yeah. Okay.
And it's not a bad bag, but it's only
No.
one bag,
Hmm.
and that's the problem I have with show, that it doesn't have a lot of swath to it.
Okay. All right. When you were in high school and you always had, from what I remember, you always had this vision for a song and how it should sound. At that moment in time, did you want to put that in a recording when you got the sound you wanted? Even at that age, was that your focus?
Yeah, well, I didn't, I wasn't thinking about that. Are you talking about in high school?
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, in high school, no, it was all about uh, live, and at that point, uh, it was about. I read. I remember the first book I read was Henry Mancini's Sounds and Scores, and I read that, and then I started writing, and they programmed some of the. I remember, what was that? Gilbert's Gilbert O'Sullivan's "Alone Again Naturally." That was the very first thing that I orchestrated, and they programmed that in the concert. And Mr. Van Heuvelin, Harold Van Heuvelin, was unbelievably kind to me, and was really a mentor to me. He let me conduct the orchestra once a week when I was a senior, and that was so inspirational to me. And so I loved the creative process. I didn't really care about about the big end and what I loved the process. That was the thing that was the most fun, because we were all in it and we were doing it, and there's the synergism there. And so that's the recording part didn't really happen until I think after I traveled with that group and I watched the recording process for that. Then that spurred me on. I remember going to, I think his name was George Wright, or who he was at the Tribune, and he was a big recording. He liked recording things, and so I went to his house and learn some stuff from him, and then Bill Townsend and I got together, and then we started. Then we got into recording, and then during that process, that's where I really got interested in song and song development, and that's how that evolved. And then when I went to California, when I moved for those 2 years, and I was the director of publishing at Sparrow.
Okay.
That was like getting your master's, because I was going through artist songs every day. That was my job, to sort it out. And I learned so much there. That was just another one of those things that how your life is orchestrated. It's just unbelievable.
Inspirational music changed from the 70s to the 80s and 90s, and that's when more praise worship,
Right.
music.
In the 90s, then there was this group, Integrity,
Yes.
that got going, and they were sending songs out to churches, and the whole idea of worship music came, and that was good, but that wasn't me. That's not. There's wonderful songs, especially by guys like Stuart Townend, who wrote "How Deep the Father's Love for Me," and this "In Christ Alone." He's just a wonderful lyricist. So there's some wonderful things coming out. So it wasn't like this is the way. See, inspirational music really evolved from traditional music. Traditional and Southern gospel into inspirational, and then inspirational. It had its life, and then worship music started taking over, and that's kind of what that was.
When you wrote a song, how did this song start? Was it with an idea? Was it with a sound? Was it with a lyric?
Sorry.
How?
It happens every different way.
Okay.
I usually with me, this is not true of everybody, because there are some people who write by themselves all the time, and don't want to write with anybody else. what I love is sitting down with somebody who I'm chemically
Hmm.
conjoined to, and the chemistry is right. I've only written with like a total of maybe one, two, probably four writers for the most part. I've done little one-offs here and there, but when you have that a good chemistry with someone where you're safe and
Hmm.
you can say anything you want to say,
Hmm.
and it's not a stupid idea that you came up with, or it's not like, oh yeah, uh, yeah, I like that, but what about this? And boom, 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 and there's this back and forth. Well, first of all, uh, I have to think about what is the topic sentence here.
Yes.
What is the
What's
topic,
the
and what do you
theme?
want? What do you want people when they finish hearing the song and walk out? What do you want them to be thinking about? So it's not the topic sentence may not even be the title. It may not even be a line in the song. Sometimes it is.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's the title. It just depends. But all that evolves as you're talking about. Uh, in usually we in I write uh, because I don't write as much as I used to, but I do. Maybe I go 2 hours with the writer I'm writing with now a lot, and we kind of figure out what it is, and is does anybody care about this?
Hmm.
I mean, that's you know does it does what we're writing about really matter? Does it hold any weight? So that's one thing. You start talking, and then you start forming. It there's so many different ways to write a song. The number one thing though is you got to know how to tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this economy of words. Because your job in telling that story is to create tension and release uh, uh, theater. Like I'm trying to think of a simple. There's so many variants of that lyrically and musically, but for a Beatles song like maybe you've got the tension. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night. Then you go into the bridge.
Well,
But when I'm down,
uh-huh.
everything seems to be right. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
release.
Mm-hmm.
And in songs lyrically, there's that tension release and so the lyric also is doing that. It's not just music that's doing. Music is uh, you are supporting what the lyric is
Yeah.
saying. So the
Uh-huh.
lyric has to have
Mhm.
theater to it,
Yeah.
and then you take just the opposite. Michelle, my belle, these are words that go together. I love you, I love you, I love you. The tension. So that's very simplistic, but that's a lot of that's what you're doing, and then you have to just say, okay, what's that opening line? Why why do people want to stay here? What's the opening? That's so important. And then what's the first verse about? What are you saying here? And then the chorus. We usually try to find out what the chorus is first so we can speak to it. And then the second verse to make sure, which in a lot of songs there people are just repeating the first what the first verse said.
Mm-hmm.
But there has to be this continuing development of the idea. And so anyway, those are the sort of things that I mean, it's very basic what I'm saying here because there. I remember I wrote once. I wrote the music to what was it? Uh, Calvary's Love is a song that I wrote, and my writing partner at that time was Phil McHugh,
Uh,
who was unbelievable writer, and he took. I said, I think this is something to do with the cross, if that's what it feels like to me. And I don't know what. So he came back with a outline of what, and then we finished it up. But he came back about 6 months later, with it, because he was just waiting on it, which is the other thing you have to do is wait on things. But this guy, McHugh, he wrote a lyric called "Church in the Field," and it was. The sky was one vast ceiling that vaulted out and on, down to starry stained glass windows of sunsets and of dawns, an out-of-doors cathedral day by day revealed. I remember Church in the Field. The rain fell there like a sacrament on the altar of the soil, and mixed with sweat that fell from hands content with honest toil, the faith of spring saw harvest that seeds and earth would yield. I remember Church in the Field. There were blazing colors, there were lovely smells. I encountered passions my poetry can't tell. Mere religion hadn't tamed me yet. My reverence was all real. I remember Church in the Field. I stood there without thinking, a worship from no cue, at flashing summer's thunderstorms and wild roses fresh with dew. And to the mystery and music always just concealed, I remember Church in the Field.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
the guy
paints a picture.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And to me, it resonates as farmers. It resonates with. We hold
right.
church in the field all the time.
You Minokan girls would know that.
Yeah.
That's who people of the earth are. Who producer food.
That's right.
It speaks
so,
our song.
You guys know about that.
Hey, Greg, we're at the end of our fun chat. My goodness,
Okay.
this is awesome. You always enlighten us so much about your stories of the past and who you are, and you're just a precious human being. And we're so glad that you have shared your life with us for the third time on our 1950s fun chat.
You bet. Well, you guys are precious too to me. Too. Isn't that great? We just love ourselves so much.
Yeah, I know it.
Narcissistic world we have here.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but
yes, Jack and Jackie is going to wrap up this fun chat.
Okay.
But folks, I do want to remind you that we are in North Dakota on our book tour, and please come see us. You'll see.
When is that?
We leave September 20. We have left September 22nd. We will be in the Bismarck area on starting October 2nd, and then for that week. But prior to that, we're in Northwest North Dakota at Watford City, Williston, and Stanley.
Well, I'll miss you because we're going to be there the 23rd, 24th, 25th. On those
the 23rd
days
of October.
Of October.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well,
2 ships passing in the night.
Yeah. Are you going there for old time's sake?
Yeah. Well, yes, to see friends. I was supposed to go there for this class reunion that they had 73, and they had invited me to come, and I wanted to come so badly, and I had lined up seeing my relatives and stuff, and then I ended up in the hospital. So
maybe we better. We'll just finish wrapping this up and continue with the conversation.
Okay.
So, viewers, please look at the blue thumbs up button. Tap that, and the red subscribe button. And so, until next time, tell everyone about the fun chat, even your friends and even your relatives about the 1950s fun chat. Until next time, toodaloo.
Bye bye.